friends Deepwater Wind. Always want to thank them for helping us get the message out about what's going on in the business community. Mr. Innovation, Saul Kaplan from Business Innovation Factory is here. The big news locally, Helena folks going out of town to, looks like Toronto. It might be the most complex conglomerate in the history of world. Textron can't beat the structure of all these different entities that are piled on together, but she's going to go over and run a pretty significant concern. She was third-ish, fourth-ish in line at CVS, obviously one of the biggest, or soon to be one of the biggest companies in the United States, pending some federal approval, although the Justice Department might have thrown a little curveball by asking for a second round of information. Are you surprised?
I don't know if I'm surprised. My first reaction, I've known Helena a long time. I was with her last week. She gave me
She did not.
She did not confide in me about what she was going to do. But today's news, I don't know if I'm surprised. My first reaction, is one of support for her. She's incredible. She's one of the most talented business leaders I know.
Yeah.
And so I'm very happy for her. To get a CEO position, a major corporation, Saks, Lord & Taylor, some major brand names, right in the midst of the retail, sector, that's worried about being disruption, as we've talked about many times. So I'm really happy for her. I'm sad for CVS Health. I'm sad for Rhode Island, because they're headquartered here. They're deep at CVS Health. So I imagine they'll just keep muscling ahead. But Helena was one of the best champions of innovation, in the context of a retail operator, that I've ever seen. And so
did big innovation. I mean, she pulled off the CVS card. Was one of her first, and that's probably 15 years ago or so. And then obviously taking tobacco out of the store was just a huge play.
Just huge to shifting the position, to try to activate the CVS Health idea. Obviously Aetna takes them even further towards that. So we're all anxious to see, how that goes. But anyway, I wish Helena a lot of luck. Again, I just hope CVS Health can continue the tradition of innovation and making new markets, because it's good for Rhode Island.
Two leading women senior executives, Cheryl Sneed passing away, 10 days ago or so, and now Helena probably won't be here. Obviously, I don't think she's planning on moving the corporate headquarters here, although maybe the governor could give her a call.
I worked so closely with Cheryl when I ran the EDC. I just thought the world of her. She was such an example, for women leaders. For all leaders. For that matter. But particularly women leaders. She was such a strong advocate for that. She was so community focused. Right. Always willing to roll up her sleeves and work on behalf of the community. While she had more than a full-time job, trying to run her enterprise. So sad. I hope she rests in peace. She was a really good role model. Her legacy lives, and will for some time here.
Yeah, I mean, it's both the two of them very distinct, but two of the leading women business leaders in a state that isn't, the bench is not deep in senior positions in major entities. It's funny, we looked at it right when we launched in 2010, and there were much more senior leaders in leadership positions. You had Merrill over at Bank RI, and many of the hospitals had, Connie House was at Women and Infants, Miriam was led by a woman, and now it's trimmed back significantly.
But there's always been a lot of momentum on women in enterprise. There have been groups that have advocated, and not just advocated, but supported women with the tools necessary, and networked, which is easy to do here in Rhode Island because we're so small, where they could bolster each other and we could support them. So that continues. I think that's just as strong as ever. So I think we'll continue to see, a lot of women leaders, continue to advance here in Rhode Island, and we should be doing more to support them. Absolutely.
Let's jump over to Let me just say on it for one issue. She is going from a company who is doing some of the most dynamic things, CVS trying to fight off Amazon, purchasing Aetna, sort of flipping the table, to a retailer.
Well, we'll see. She'll bring that mentality there. She's such a strong leader, and she's always thinking about what's next, which is wonderful about her. I don't know the clothing sector, that well. I'm sure it's under all the same pressures, that the rest of retail is. I don't know how deep Amazon is, and clothing is sticky, right? Clothing is one where people would say, I really have to try this on.
Yeah.
So I think there's some room for play there, and it'll be really fascinating to watch what she does. I don't know the details of their current performance. But whatever
it's
it is,
strained.
She'll take it to a different level. No,
Yeah.
no question about it. Good for them. What a wonderful hire for them.
Yeah, it's great. Let's jump over to CVS and Aetna.
Okay.
That world is spinning as quick as possible. Justice Department came back. I think CVS had appealed that this would just be a Federal Trade Commission review, but Justice is in it. Now Justice is back asking for more documents. There's some who say the Warner Brothers deal is an indication that this Justice Department FTC under President Trump may not be as forgiving as some had hoped. We had a story this weekend about CVS ponying up some significant campaign donations to the Republicans. What's your sense of all these plates in the air simultaneously in a wildly dynamic time?
Well, this is the world. This is the world we live in right now. Just look at what happened to the Dow today. It's a very tumultuous time, discombobulating to say the least.
Right.
I don't think the request for further documents is unusual. I don't think we should blow that out of proportion. I think this is going to be a process. They're going to have their act together. They're going to have to respond to that. We'll see what the politics are here. Again, this is a vertical integration, rather than a horizontal one. Right. So you would expect, that it wouldn't get the same level of scrutiny because it's not concentrating, within, scale, and it's more vertical and strategic. But that doesn't mean there aren't going to be questions. It doesn't mean that they're going to have to work through the process. But I don't think that was a big alarm bell, a red flag, being thrown. I think this happens normally in the course of these things. So let's see how that plays out. In the meantime, the world isn't standing still, right?
Oh God, no.
So they've got to be looking at and projecting, how they're going to combine and recombine the capabilities, both for near-term operating support, income, to be able to show stability and to appease Wall Street, but also to play the innovation card, which is maybe we can combine these capabilities in a different way and actually disrupt healthcare. That where we can leverage our network not just to do what's already done, in a slightly better way, which would be good, and might please Wall Street, but in the end, you've got to be the leader, you've got to be the disruptor, you have to be the market maker, and that's my hope for CVS.
And then obviously Amazon came firing back with Berkshire Hathaway and JP Morgan. Could they put bigger brands together?
That's pretty
to
fascinating.
Say,
it's not enough. It's not enough for just Jeff Bezos, which by his lonesome can put a scare into industry.
I'm going to throw on Jamie Dimon and Warren Buffett too,
and the stock price takes a hit, and did that day. But then you combine Warren Buffett. It's still unclear what they're going to do. There weren't a lot of details around that announcement.
It would sound big and scary.
Yeah,
and maybe cool.
But they combine. They employ a lot of people, and what became clearer maybe the next day was that their intention is to start with their own very, very large employee base.
That's right.
And what a great platform for experimentation, right? If they can apply pressure, and again, I don't think it's just right to squeeze a little bit of savings out of the current market by leaning on suppliers. I think this has got to be about disruption and about how do we change the model. right? And that's what scares the market. I think that's got a fair amount to do with today's downturn on Wall Street. I'm sure it doesn't explain all of it, but I think that's some of it, right? It looked to me like Amazon was only down about half of the percentage, maybe a little.
It was green this morning.
Yeah, it was green for most of the day, and then it turned red towards the end of the day.
It was green on Friday.
It lost about 2%. But the overall market was down, about 4.5%, single largest drop ever. And that's scary. Are we talking about a correction? Are we talking about a collapse, right? I don't know. I think the jury's still out on that. I hope it's a correction. We've had quite the run-up, so you'd expect some correction, although this one's pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, proportionally as a percentage, it's not in the top 5, but as a number, it is significant.
That's a raw number. It's the single biggest drop, right?
We were at around, I don't know, 15,000 in August of 16, and we lost 900 points, I think.
Yeah.
And that was a much higher.
As
now
a
we're at
percentage.
2,600.
Yeah, but you combine the 600 from the other day. With this. It's quite a correction. Let's put it that way. And people are taking notice today. Everyone's checking their 401ks.
By the way, there's not a lot you can do about it.
No, but you check anyway.
Right.
Yeah,
and then you jump out of the market, and it's back up 2,200 in the next 2 weeks.
But I just think it's a sign of the turbulence that we're living in now, where you better buckle up. You put your seatbelt on, because I don't think we've seen the last of this.
So from here, are you leaving to go to Walmart to buy a shotgun and canned goods?
Like in our basement.
That's right.
No,
Stack them up, Sue.
Listen, I am an eternal optimist, right? I think anytime that there's turbulence, I see opportunity.
Right.
I see the opportunity, and I think innovation is really about taking advantage of these kinds of times. Anytime you see the discontinuity or this kind of turbulence, right, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to, and organizations that are going to behave like deer in the headlights.
Right.
And the leaders are the ones that take advantage of these times, to do something new, to do something bold, and to do something different. And if there's any signal out there in the market that's clear, whether it's coming from Amazon and Jeff Bezos, or Elon Musk, or wherever it's coming from, the signal should be pretty clear. Like, you better work on reinventing yourself, whether you're a person, an organization, or a community, because just paddling the boat, in this kind of turbulence water, not going to be easy.
Let's talk about the turbulence here in Rhode Island. We've got a lot of disruption going on in a host of different sectors. We were just talking to Gary about, the governor came forward with $1 billion in school funding over 5 years. It's the new money totals about $250 million proposed for a general obligation bond.
Right.
The need, according to sort of the blue ribbon report that was issued in September, is you need $2.2 billion to about $3.2 billion.
Right.
And I prodded Gary a little bit, and he said, well, you got to start somewhere. But that's right. Gary, he's the money man. Don't we need a little more disruption in, and he's talking about fixing roofs and fixing windows and things like that. You go to Massachusetts, and you go to most schools, they're building real schools. They're building smart schools. They're, in Fall River, Durfee High School is going to be state of the art, the new Durfee High School. Can we prod along for 5-10 more years fixing roofs? Do we need to really, K through 12?
We need to fix the roofs. So
Yeah.
I mean, let's just start with what's necessary but not sufficient.
So do you fix the old roof, or just say, forget it, Roger Williams Middle School, built in probably WPA project in the 30s or 40s. That school, if you haven't toured it, will put you into a depression for a week. Should we be fixing that or building anew?
What we need to do in concert is transform our education system, designed around student experience, to try to create the better outcomes. We cannot tweak our way to.
So you're with me. Blow that Roger Williams Middle School up.
But now let's get back to the physical part of it, right? Of course we have to fix the physical infrastructure, right? There's still going to.
But what is it bad money? This is a fundamental that I don't think we talk about. Why do you continue? Listen, I got elected in 1990, right? the test scores at Central High School were deplorable. It's
Right.
now 2018. Test scores at Central High School are
Right.
still deplorable.
Right.
So, you
Right.
know,
But you don't fix that by fixing the roof. Even though you've got to fix the roof, you have to have a physical environment, that our youth is safe in. But the real change that has to happen is in moving much more aggressively to new school models, right, that change student outcomes, not a little bit. Let's stop arguing about which tests we use to measure progress, and let's start.
but if you're the
talking about-
bureaucrat that
What?
just went out and sold
I'm
the
the
local,
bureaucrat?
if you are a bureaucrat who just fought to get $20 million for Roger Williams Middle School,
Yep.
and then fought why we needed in the local bond issue for the
Yep.
matching funds, are you really going to disrupt that new building that just got a new roof and a new
Right.
fire escape system, and you're out of money? You spent the $30 million.
No, these are different. These are, if you look at the amount of capital, and we're much better at deploying capital. We have a decent balance sheet, right? I know we can debate pension funds and overhang.
Sure.
But by and large, we have been very prudent about borrowing, right? And so we have the capacity to capitalize, improvements in infrastructure. It's the same thing we did at URI, where we've been very generous as taxpayers to put up new buildings, right? But now let's talk about what happens in the buildings,
Yep.
right? Let's talk about what the operating model is and what the financial model is for this in terms of operating funds and the role of faculty and how we bring students in a more engaged way, right, into this equation to design entire new models with better outcomes, right? These are related but not the same, right? We can fix the roofs, by borrowing, right? We've got to fix the operating model and make real changes in the way, not just K through 12, but K through 16. Like, let's build
Well,
a
except
whole
for we
learning
can't.
platform.
So
right?
let's go to that. 3.2 billion in need. We're going to spend 1 billion if everything goes right and the General
Right.
Assembly goes over 5 years. By the way, the 3.2 doesn't stop in time. By the time we go five
Oh,
more
that's right.
years, we're going to be up to $3.8 billion in need.
Well, we never build a sustainable model. It's the same thing with how we manage roads and bridges, right? We don't make the investments
but now,
on an ongoing basis.
whether you like
right?
roadworks or not, it's a sustainable, reoccurring revenue stream, right?
Yes, but it took a lot
Right.
of political will, right, to try to cobble together a sustainable way, to
But
finance improvements in
general
infrastructure.
obligation bonds
Right.
are not a sustainable way at
Right.
$250 million a
Right.
clip. And also, you'll wear the voter out, right? The voter's going to be like, another 250
No, I know.
million, another
Yeah,
250
but
million.
I think I'm in Gary's camp on this, right? I think you have to take a big bite of this apple, and you have to start making improvements, and you have to triage, the schools that need it. We've got to create a safe environment, for our youth. But that doesn't mean that we can't work on what happens in the school, in the classroom, and then outside of the school, as students want.
Is there a
We're-
strategy where
yeah.
you tie those two things together? Is there just, instead of just doing the roofs and this, you're rethinking how we make this a smart school, where there's a real technology infrastructure, where the academic portfolio mirrors what you're trying to do?
Well, I like the idea of putting together the transformation of what happens, in the classroom, as well as how we make sure that the physical infrastructure is right. I don't like that we talk about those things separately, but I will also say that just putting smart technology into a physical
Absolutely,
infrastructure
right.
doesn't change student outcomes. We should know that by now. We've thrown a lot of money at computers, for schools, and we're not changing the outcomes. You've got to get to the student experience and the model and how learning happens, how we go outside of the walls of the school to help students understand what's happening in the real world, so they learn in an experiential and an applied way. And I think that can start when youth is really young and go all the way through, to the way we get through college and into the workplace. Or we could even talk about lifelong learning, how
Yeah.
old cockers like you and I, continue to learn and stay relevant, in the world. If you're not getting better faster, if you're not learning every day, we have to teach our youth how to reinvent themselves. Like, if we think we're going to teach somebody something, to get a job that's not going to exist 3 or 4 years from now.
Well, let's
right,
jump over.
right.
Darrell West has a new book out,
Yep.
and he says robot's going to take your job. I mean, functionally,
Right.
that's what he says. And
Today's
it's not,
job.
and it's not 10
Right.
years down the road. This is
Right.
2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road that you're going
Right.
to see the most drastic transformation of the
Don't
workplace.
they have computer software now that can write news stories that you guys can
They
put out on
absolutely do.
Golocal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, well, whatever your job is today, let's assume it won't exist in its current form, 3 to 5 years from now.
Right.
Right. So if you're not doing the smart things now
Mhm.
to get prepared for what's next and to build the resiliency necessary to move as the market moves, you're going to get left behind. Right. So I think reinvention is the most important life skill. Why is it that we're not teaching our youth? Why isn't education about how to build the necessary skills to reinvent yourself so that you can come out of school and, yes, get a job today, but more importantly, reinvent yourself to move as the market moves, right? Education is still too focused on a target, that it doesn't exist and won't exist 3 to 5 years from now.
Right.
Our workforce development systems are the same way. We're not creating folks who know how to reinvent themselves to stay relevant, right? We're trying to solve today's problem to get people into today's jobs, but that's not sustainable if those jobs are changing and, as you say, new technologies are coming in, that are going to dramatically affect those jobs. We have to completely reimagine education, workforce development, and what it means to reinvent our youth, us as adults, and all of the systems that are sitting around it. That's a scary thought, right? But we better get on with it or we're going to get left behind.
And are other countries who embrace it going to just be able to, other states, just going to be able to blow by non-competitive states who are too slow in making transformation?
Oh, absolutely. Both because they'll build workforces that are going to be highly sought after, and they're going to be more nimble at reinventing themselves. The same thing we talk about in terms of changing education, with students at the center, or we talk about healthcare, with consumers and patients, at the center. We have to talk about government and citizens at the center. Right, the same exact thing. We've got to transform the way we do public services, because citizen experience is so far removed from the way public services are delivered today, and we all see that stress, and we all feel that pain. Well, let's all take responsibility for reimagining that, and we need political leaders that understand that we have to transform the way we do government the same way we talk about transforming education or transforming healthcare.
So to jump over to probably the most important issue in our last couple of moments we could talk about is Coach Hurley doing a better job
Oh my goodness.
innovating rather than
See,
Bill Belichick?
I'll tell you what, first of all, I always think I'm going to jinx it, but what a run. We went down to Keeney, to the Duquesne game, the buzzer beater.
Yes,
game.
not your eyes
Right,
finest
right.
game.
Well, I'll tell you
but
but here's what was exciting.
Right.
I went down there, I'm biased, I graduated from there, but I will tell you the crowd before the game, people, the parking lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so exciting to see what was going on at the Ryan Center, and then it was pretty cool that we pulled the game out at the end. Hurley and the team is on a roll, and I see them, continuing that. I don't see how they, how anyone in the A10, stops them right now.
do you want a loss though before the
Yeah,
the
you need a
18?
loss. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe they'll lose a game, but they're in such good position to go. Both. To be the top seed in the A10. No one's even close. They can
Right.
afford. They can afford a loss, right? I hope they don't take a bad loss because
Right.
I want their instant.
You don't want a
I think,
Fordham loss.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about the Patriots today, man.
You're scarred.
Like it's baseball season. It was truck day today, so like we're moving on. We're moving on. But I do want to know what happened with Butler, like that, like with Malcolm Butler, like everybody in Patriots Nation.
Yeah, I gotta say,
Yeah.
I thought he got beat like a drum all season long,
Yeah.
and got thrown at 4 times
Terrible.
as much as the other corner.
Yeah. So have you been doing before we sign off? Have you been doing the 40-year anniversary of the Blizzard of '78?
No, we have not.
You've not done any of that.
No, we've
were
not
you
done
here?
it. Yeah, we were here. We have John Giorgi as. It seems like a bit much on the
What?
40th. Are we going to do the 41st? 45th.
No, come on. Like, I mean, please, those of us that were here. I mean, I remember being on the URI campus. The place shut
I
down
saw
for a
that
whole week.
your Facebook post. You
Yeah.
were depressed because you were out of one of the places was out of alcohol by Tuesday.
They ran out of beer on campus on Tuesday, for heaven's sakes. Yeah.
You didn't find any other. You didn't have any other alcoholic
We
beverage.
had to send a mission to Wakefield. It was an expeditionary mission to go find
with dogs?
additional beer.
Yes,
Yeah, with sled
right.
dog.
And you
with
innovated.
sleds. Yeah, with
You
sleds.
innovated.
Yeah, like we had the
Right.
whole. We had the
McLaughlin
whole
and
thing going on.
Moran could not bring the truck down Alumni Road, so you innovated.
That we tried.
Yes, that's
We
right.
sure tried.
Any predictions on the next week? You got any?
Oh my goodness! After today, like I'm so shell shocked for today. You know,
Between the stock market,
between
the
Helena
Patriots.
and the stock
Right.
market, and like what an incredible day. You know, like it takes your breath away. You know, the way these changes are coming fast and furious. As an innovation guy, I love it, but it is stressful, right? You know, it is nerve-wracking, no
A
question.
lot of opportunity.
Yeah, indeed.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Innovation Saul Kaplan. We're going to sign off right now. I want to thank everybody for tuning in on Business Monday. I want to thank Gary Sass and Saul Kaplan. As always, stay tuned tomorrow. It'll be Ava Gaudet at the 3 o'clock hour, and Kate Nagel will be back in the 4 o'clock hour. It is all Rock'em and Sock'em here at Golocal. Thanks, everybody at Navigant Credit Union and our friends at Deepwater Wind. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.